Of Newsgang today, and the government has for the second time postponed the implementation of the new competency-based curriculum, which had been set for January for nursery to standard 3 pupils without specifying the new date of the rollout. Now, this means that millions of pupils in lower classes who have been learning under the 26333 system will revert to the 844 system next year. The learning materials which parents brought in anticipation of the new system will likely go to waste. Publishers now all set to lose billions of shillings since they put money into publishing the new learning materials. Education Minister Amina Mohamed said the rollout had been put on hold to allow development of infrastructure. Joseph, this system has been, a year-long pilot has been conducted. Children, the whole year, Kwanzia nursery until class 3, have been going through this system. I'm hearing from some parents that they liked it because it's based on practical things, not just theory. Ile zamani ya kusoma na reproduce. Why did we start it if we were not sure that we were going to be able to do it?
Okay, yes, Joseph. Is my,
I know.
I thought you were going to send me some money on my
You
phone.
called him like his school teacher.
Joseph? Yes. Kwa nini tulifanya hivi na tuko na uhakika tunaweza?
I think what happened 2 days ago was major in many respects. First of all, this is a process that has been going on for a long time. At least this current cycle, some people say 3 years. There's a task force that was put in place in 2016 after the Professor Douglas Odhiambo task force report. So there was a steering committee rather that was put in place to deal with this curriculum issue, and there are many stakeholders involved in this. So when these kind of things happen, one thing is that you have a crisis, a confidence crisis, as they say, because the education sector, many people do not know, but there is a lot of politics that go on and a lot of mistrust between the civil society groups involved in this, between the unions, the teachers associations, the ministry, and that sort of thing. So for this thing to have come this far and then suddenly it is dropped without too many explanations, that is a problem. I think the other thing that we have to note is that this is the first time that we had a very inclusive, if you like, sort of process leading to this, where you had all these many stakeholders. Remember, since 1963, we've only reviewed our curriculum once, which is when we brought the 844 system. And yes, a matter of fact, by the way, the 844 system, the review came by accident. There was a group that was put in place to give ideas on how to start a second university in Kenya, because it was only the University of Nairobi. And somehow in the process, they also recommended that we needed to look at the entire curriculum. And so, yes, we got 844 system. So really, this is the first time that people came together, many different stakeholders, to bring this. So a lot of them are likely to be disillusioned. But what about the parents? I mean, I have a child who is
in that bracket.
Me every day I go home, I ask, oh, what class are you? And then he says PP1. So I don't know what he's going to say next year, whether it's now back to pre-unit or class 1, whatever those things are. So there is a whole disoriented people there. Then lastly, the biggest issue with this is that the CS did not give any timeline, any indication what's going to happen. So in my view, this is a disastrous development, and she had better redress it quickly, because otherwise we're going to lose all these gains. And imagine bringing all those people together to restart this.
Right. Yvonne and Linus and Francis, just for a minute before you speak about this, one of the main issues that was brought up by the minister, I think at some point, is the level of preparation of teachers. Some of them were not well trained. This was working in some schools, especially the private ones, but the public ones were really having a difficult time. So let's hear what one Wilson Sosion had to say about this today. You remember Simon Makonde? He was mentioned today again. Let's hear.
A curriculum rollout is not a Simon Makonde affair that you wake up on a Monday and by the next Sunday it's already running. It takes a lot. And you want to roll out in January? Even 844 was piloted for 4 years before rollout. And CBC, it cannot be piloted in 6 months. We raised these professional alarms and professional steps. Nobody listened to us.
And yeah, you see what Sosion is saying. Gashuri is that iliharakishwa, this thing, they should have listened to us.
In fact, I'll say this in one sentence. Education, health, security are 3 areas that you should never do a trial and error thing. I mean, get it right. Be precise before you roll out. This is where the problem is. Well, I heard Amina say she's going to address this issue on Monday. I hope there will be a substantive response to what our children are asking us. Because some parents had already bought books, they don't know what to do with those books.
You were saying trial and error?
Yes.
Has the government shown by action that they were committed to this? Where is the money for this? What we know now is that all the funds that KICD has been using for this were provided by UNICEF.
Yes.
If you take a look at the allocation to the education sector over the last 7 years of the 7 budgets, it has remained pretty much constant. For a country that was looking at reforming its education system, it has pretty much flatlined. So that already was the first indication that perhaps the government wasn't quite literally putting its money where its mouth is. 250,000 teachers needed to be trained. Only 80,000 have been trained so far. If you take a look at the funds for the purchase of the books, where were those? There were some financing gaps that had been raised by stakeholders in this. The government has to date not released, a report on those financing gaps. What they have, however, been funding quite seriously is the digital literacy program, or simply what we know as laptops, which is not enough. There are no classrooms, people are still learning under trees, so it's all well and good to reform the curriculum, but the supporting infrastructure for that has not been properly invested. And keep in mind, the one thing that they've invested heavily in, the laptops, are heavily guarded, way more than the students. The teachers are afraid that if they lose these things, they're going to lose their jobs. So even if you take a look at all of the funding that has been done to date, it was very clear over the last 3 years.
You're speaking
this
about,
was not going
about
to take
funding,
off.
Yvonne.
Yeah.
Linus, I'll give you a chance right now. A few days ago, Dr. Bilio Kipsang, the PS in that ministry, said that they were ready to roll this thing out in January. And in fact, he said that 468 billion shillings will be set aside next year for education, up from the current 442 billion shillings. It's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing.
And that's my point, Jamila. And that's my point,
But
Jamila.
they said actually it's going to cost, estimates have seen up to 360 billion shillings a year.
That's right.
Forget the numbers. Forget the numbers for a moment and just look at the basic instance that you have a cabinet secretary and a permanent secretary who are not speaking the same language. One is saying we are ready, another one is saying we are not. I think what is going on at the Ministry of Education is a disaster worse than the NCPB scandal, worse than the NYS, because this is about the future of education in this country. We have people who are basically gambling with the future of millions of children. That talk, the fact that they cannot even agree on basics, is worrying to me. And let me bring the point of leadership. There is an issue about the Ministry of Education as it was when Fred Matiang'i was in charge. There was something about the combination of Fred Matiang'i and George Magoha at the time, and it looked, you can trust them with your children. You can trust them to know what they're talking about. They were physically working hard. You can actually give evidence that they are doing that. They sounded like they know what they're doing. Those changes at the Ministry of Education, I think, should be relooked, because what is going on here is quiet chaos. It results in something failing suddenly, like it has.
Linus, when you talk about the failing suddenly,
the NAT team, Sosion and team, are actually clapping for Amina. They're saying she's honest, she's listening, she's consultative, she's involving. In fact, they're saying this whole process of rolling out or piloting this program was bulldozed.
But I think for me the problem is exactly what Linus was talking about, where the left hand and the right hand are doing different things within the same ministry. Because I have it on good authority that a number of people within the ministry really were taken aback by what the CS said. They were not expecting it. There were people apparently who were burning midnight oil at the KICD to make sure that the January deadline works. So what sort of system is that, where you have people, professionals? I mean, how are they feeling right now? Because probably someone spent the night in the office trying to make sure that whatever they had been told to deliver actually was in place for the January rollout, whatever was going to happen. And then suddenly they're told, no, this thing is not going anywhere. So I think that And many people I see also argue this is a very, very political thing, and you have to understand that. But there are also people who are saying that there is no curriculum that is ever perfect from the word go, that there are certain things that you put in place, certain basics, and then you move with it, and you correct these things as you go along. For me, it is the seeming opaqueness about the whole thing that has caused this confusion, where if there was a problem, there should have been a process that is preparing the country that, these are the headwinds we have run into, and therefore we are going to postpone this thing, or we're going to keep the pilot thing going for whatever, so that parents are not confused.
You've made a good point, Joe, about how even just 1 second, about how sudden this was.
Yeah.
And we're told that one of the reasons why the minister decided to make this decision is because of an evaluation report, an interim one actually, that's supposed to be officially released on Monday by external evaluators. And they said that teachers are not well prepared and the curriculum policy was not ready, among others.
Should have waited for that. This is a report I've got from experts, and it says that these are the gaps, and based on this, we cannot implement this. Because of this, we are going to wait for 5 months, we're going to wait for 1 year, and
so
that sort of thing.
So she needs to give a plan that will stop, but what next?
Right now, it looks like it was just abracadabra, and then there you have it.
Jamila, this is really.
But here's the thing, though. Speaking of the left not knowing what the right is doing, how many parents can claim to properly understand what this curriculum meant for their children? How many teachers? When Sosyon made that statement, I tweeted it. You know, Sosyon says that this is not a Simon Makonde affair. And there was a couple of teachers, who came on my timeline and said, I am a teacher and I don't understand this. How many parents understand it? This is the problem in this country with civic education, taking the people along with you, which we always do at sort of the last minute.
But do we
is
want
what
to
we
understand?
Well, that's
But
you see, in that case,
to me, it's just an indictment of the leadership at the Ministry of Education. This is a bad time for CS Amina Mohammed.
But sorry, Linus, can I just add something? What does it say for her predecessor?
Because this whole plan started with the
Sorry, I just thought I'd put that in.
There will be those Kenyans who may ask the question, would it have failed had Matiang'i stayed in the ministry?
But other people say that at that time it was rushed and,
and
there was a lot.
Actually, he set Amina up.
Yeah, there you go. Is that a possibility?
I think the difference in approach here was it appeared orderly. It appeared like even if they were forcing it down the throats of people, they knew what they were talking about. Because on the opposite was who? Nat, and I think mainly Nat. And you know very well how Fred Matiang'i handled that. He had a bit of contempt for the trade unionists. He didn't think they understood what was at hand. But that's the difference. That leadership of that ministry at the time appeared to know what they were doing at least. Right now, there is a state of cluelessness at the Ministry of Education. If you have a minister and a CS saying
what does that say,
different things
about the previous administration? Was this a Dr. Matiang'i project, or was it a policy that he left behind, where implementing it is simple? Here's sort of what is the roadmap, and all you have to do is
follow it,
right,
and
we're going
then
left, we're going right, we're going left, and we'll get there.
This Yvonne introduces what we talked about last week or the other week about personality-driven projects or policies. When the late John Meshuki was in charge of the transport sector, things were working, but all of a sudden they seem not to work. So is it that once you have Linus heading a certain ministry, things will work? If Rashuri takes over, it doesn't. So I think this is where the problem is. But ultimately, I think we need to relook. We need to have a relook at our education system, and elaborately so, because if we are talking about curriculum, and there are still children who are learning under trees, sitting on rocks, writing on the ground, and we are talking about a curriculum, then there's a problem. Do we have the right infrastructure? Do we have the right personnel? Do we have the right system? an all-inclusive discussion about our education.
Thank you, Francis. Yes. Thank you so much. I think what you've just said brings me to what Marcus Origa is saying. He's saying Africa doesn't have a debt or hunger problem. We have a leadership problem. I think we need to go now to the final word. Joe, let's start with you.
All right. My final word comes from across the seas. Yesterday I was watching the debate that was going on in the House of Commons, and there was Prime Minister Theresa May on one side and Jeremy Corbyn on the other, and they had a back and forth that was going on for a very long time, and I sat there waiting for words like Jama Huyo, Mwizi, Mogoroki, and all those things, and I watched for a very long time and I didn't hear. Then I remembered that I was not watching politicians from Kenya, but then I waited, okay, maybe this is Parliament, so they wouldn't say all those things. So I was waiting for the security of Jeremy Corbyn to be withdrawn at the end of that debate. It wasn't. That is actually my last word for tonight. An interesting observation from across the
Very interesting. Mine is a bit sad today. In the past 4 days, 15 people have lost their lives in various road accidents across the country. Now, many worry about other such incidents, especially now that the festive season is upon us. Many people plan to travel to their rural homes to spend their holidays with their loved ones. And now, reports from the World Health Organization indicate that the road traffic deaths in Kenya far exceed the global rate and are higher than the average for Africa. According to a new global survey, 13,643 Kenyans died last year in road accidents, a figure that is 4 times higher than what the government is saying, which is 2,965. Now, this figure comes from the victims who die at the scene of their crash, and it's given by NTSA. Now, apparently more deaths occur after the crash in the hospital, and sometimes many months after the accident. That's why we have this higher figure. Therefore, the main reason for the underreporting of deaths in Kenya is due to the very narrow definition of a road traffic death that is used. Let us all be careful on the road, obey traffic rules, and just be conscious of other road users.
Yes, talking about being conscious, there are also other people that probably need to be conscious of their statements. Every so often I've heard politicians and some wealthy people tell us, hey, get more children, get more. 2 are not enough, get some more. And maybe increase the number of votes. But I keep asking, the politicians who tell us to have more children, how many do they have? They are wealthier. They can bring up their children. They have the means to bring up even 100 children, but they have, most of them have 2 or 3 at most. Well, why? Are they saying ordinary citizens are vote-making people? They know what to do. Do it fast. Lead by example. Have more. Then you can say, this is the number that I have. Please be like me. Yes, you know what to do. Do it.
Now I reserve my last word tonight to and for Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, the second president of our republic. President Moi is currently admitted at the Nairobi hospital for his routine checkup, something that would not be unusual at the president's golden age of 94 years. Now, I wish President Moi quick, speedy recovery. And as I do that, I must say something about the President Moi, and the Kenyan education system. History will judge Moi kindly. He understood education to mean nothing short of the future of the country. He understood education to mean the life of each individual child and indeed entire generations. He understood management of education to mean a solemn undertaking normally reserved for serious, clear-minded, and even visionary adults. He built schools, some in his name, and yes, they reflected his stern approach to education. He introduced the 844 system with all the good intentions to create a workforce that can compete with the best in the world. And yes, don't we Kenyans, 844 educated, often match the world's very best? Now, if President Moi is watching the show tonight and following this discussion, and especially on the changing of the system he introduced, I am certain that he'd be saddened by the incoherence, the absence of conviction, and utter lack of seriousness on the part of those leading that conversation. Quick recovery, Mzee Moi.
All right. My last word. The man from the awesome threesome says he doesn't have money for a honeymoon. That's our time tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
We didn't see that one.